promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
As far as I know, it's never been done.
An abandoned leaking oil well is creating challenges for crews trying to plug it. The fact that it's located in the middle of a residential neighborhood, well, that's only part of the problem. Plus,
it goes right back onto the grid. They will market that as green electricity.
One man's trash is another man's treasure, as the old saying goes. Now, one West Virginia landfill is poised to start producing power from garbage. Hello everybody, and welcome to a new season of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson.
And I'm Kelly Gillenwater. Finding out you have oil under your property is usually a good thing.
But finding it coming up through your floor, well, not so much. That's the problem in one Wheeling neighborhood where residents of an apartment building were forced out of their homes.
The DEP's Jake Glantz joins us now with the latest.
Well, Kelly and Greg, it actually started when area residents noticed an oily sheen on the surface of Stackyard Run, which is a tributary of Wheeling Creek that leads to the Ohio River. But that was just the start of the problem.
Caution tape aside, from the outside it looks like an ordinary apartment building, but on the inside, well, come on in, take a look for yourself.
It's the same principle as any drilling operation, but it's smaller scale, just miniature rig. Very challenging. Everything from thinking out the design, how the rig would have to be set up to operate, how we had, basically manufacture everything.
That's right, that's a drilling rig, just like the big ones on drill sites across the state, only this one is much, much smaller.
The landowner said, I'll try to accommodate you any way I can. We said, well, we're going to have height to be able to do this. And he said he'd cut a hole in the floor. We built it off site. He cut a 52 by 52 inch hole in the floor, and we carried the rig in and erected it inside the actual apartment building.
The rig is built out of 6-inch steel I-beams with a 30-ton winch and a hydraulic unit for power. Contractors will use a bit like this one, along with steel and fluid to clean out the wellbore and then seal it with concrete from bottom to top. Erecting the rig was only half the problem. First, inspectors had to locate the source of the oil.
There have been numerous complaints about the smell and the oil sheen going down the stream. The landowner actually called in a complaint that he had oil in his apartment, and you could see it in the outline of the grout on the tiles, which worked really give us a good hint to where it was actually coming up at. But it was really hard to find to start with.
As for the well itself, it appears to have been drilled between 1908 and 1910 and plugged to state standards in April of 1949. The technology of oil and gas operations has changed quite a bit over the last half century, and current standards for plugging a well are much different. As for the apartment building itself,
it was built in 1964, and it was actually mentioned in the city in the building permit that there was a well there. But at that time, nobody saw an issue with it. And that was just back when things was a little different.
The DEP's abandoned well plugging and reclamation program typically tackles 8 to 15 leaking abandoned wells every year. The process of drilling out the old well has started. Crews have also placed booms and absorbent material to catch the oil leaking into the water, and the EPA has set up monitoring equipment at the site. The project is expected to take about a month to complete. For Environment Matters, I'm Jake Glantz.
Thanks, Jake. The U.S. EPA is providing $165,000 in funding for the project. A fire at an underground abandoned mine complex near Bald Knob in Boone County is now out. The fire was actually burning in a coal refuse pile associated with the mine. Crews had to dig out the burning material, spread it out to cool, and then haul it away, about 110,000 cubic yards of material altogether. Refuse piles, or as they're more commonly known, gob piles, are formed from waste material separated from the coal as it's brought to the surface. Since the process is not 100% efficient, a significant amount of coal remains in the pile. It's that combustible material that causes the problem.
Once the pile is ignited and the internal coal and other combustibles ignite, they start to draft air in through the soil and through openings, and as it gets more oxygen and more venting, the fire increases, but the soil around it, including the original ground, acts like a giant insulator in an oven, and it just keeps the heat in and will increase and increase until it finally comes out as surface burning.
Underground temperatures at the Boone County site reached a scorching 600 degrees, but this type of underground fire can easily reach 2,000 degrees. Crews will now work to reestablish the original contours of the hollow, and by the end of the project, all of the disturbed area will be capped with soil, reseeded, and mulched. The removal of contaminated soil from the former Freedom Industries site is now complete.
Contractors are now working to install a clay cap over the affected area. Roughly 10,000 tons of soil containing traces of chemicals MCHM and PPH were removed from the site of the 2014 chemical leak that contaminated the water supply for 300,000 area residents. Soil removal began in December. The contaminated soil was replaced with clean fill material. The project is expected to be completed later this year. When finished, the site will be able to be reused as an industrial area.
Residents of the Wetzel County community of Pine Grove were under a temporary do not use water order for several days in February.
That's because of a chemical leak at the Mark West facility in Smithfield. An estimated 260 gallons of the chemical Downtherm MX heat transfer fluid leaked from a pipe. An unknown quantity leaked into a small tributary of Fishing Creek. Soon after the leak was discovered, absorbent booms were placed in the creek to catch and soak up the chemical. Some of the chemical made it into the intake portion of the Pine Grove water plant, but none was detected on the distribution side. Bottled water was trucked in for area residents. About 360 homes were affected. An investigation into what caused the leak is ongoing. A team from WVU is one of 16 college teams taking on an ambitious project to design, build, and demonstrate cutting-edge, eco-friendly automotive technologies. It's called the EcoCar 3 Challenge, and it starts with this 2016 Chevrolet Camaro.
Some vehicles nowadays have over 100 different computers that control everything inside the vehicle, from the transmission to the engine to the radio, and you have to communicate to all of that. And if something doesn't communicate correctly, nothing will work. So to intercept those communications and actually be able to get this vehicle to run is very complex. And it's not just as easy as plugging in an engine to this vehicle and it just magically runs.
And that's just for an engine swap. The team is replacing the Camaro's stock 335 horsepower V6 with this small Ecotec 4-cylinder, plus a very powerful electric motor, a pile of batteries, and all the controls and drivetrain bits to make the whole complex thing work together. That's why, for now, the most frequently used tool is a laptop.
We've got it starting right now, but that's kind of just on the bench. Once it gets hooked into the car, it might not like something that something else is telling it. So right now, it's not getting any communication from other computers in the vehicle. But once it does, it might not like the way that we're starting it right now. So that's our major challenge that we've got to work with. How to figure out all this communication stuff.
The goals of the competition are to improve fuel economy and reduce tailpipe emissions. That's the eco part. But after all, it's still a Camaro. So what happens when you put your right foot down?
The control systems will have to decide when you hit the accelerator pedal, where is it going to pull the power from? And it's really, there's a lot of variables involved. What the driving conditions are, whether you're climbing a hill or going down a hill, what the state of charge of the battery is, how much torque is requested, etc. And that's all based on controls and control logic.
WVU's EcoCar 3 team is made up of over 60 students, from undergrads to PhD candidates majoring in fields ranging from engineering to business to journalism and communications. The idea is to give the teams the real-world hands-on experience of designing, developing, and marketing the car from start to finish. When we last checked in with the team, they were working to get the new engine in the car. They hope to have their hybrid Camaro up and running in May. Between 450 and 500 tons of garbage every day. That's the average intake at the Raleigh County landfill.
But all that trash may soon provide the fuel to generate enough electricity to power more than 2,000 homes. The DEP's Brianna Hickman joins us now with the details.
The project will use captured methane gas from the landfill to power the generators, a waste product that's currently being burned off. According to the U.S. EPA, about 18% of the country's methane gas emissions come from landfills. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas with 25 times the climate change impact as carbon dioxide.
Basically, as anything decomposes, it generates gas. It generates the methane. So the waste that's in our landfill, which is probably over 2 million tons of waste that's in place, has been put in there since 1994. Well, as that has been decomposing, it generates the gas in the landfill. If the gas does not have a escape route out of the landfill, which is permeating up through the closure cap into the atmosphere, then it's just locked into the landfill.
Besides its impact on climate change, methane gas buildup in the landfill can cause other serious problems.
If you don't do something about it, it causes a lot of problems for the operators. And number one, it does create a bunch of leachate outbreaks. Then you're constantly going back and trying to fix them. And if you can relieve the gas, because the water follows the gas, the path of least resistance. And if you can take care of the gas problem, the rest of them take care of themselves.
Some test wells determined that the landfill was producing fairly high-quality gas, about 52% methane. In 2009, the landfill added more than a dozen additional wells, along with the equipment to extract the gas and burn it off. But burning it off was wasting a potentially valuable resource.
Right now we're producing approximately 750 standard cubic feet a minute of gas, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that gas is very good because it's based on the waste stage of where we've put our monitoring wells. After a period of time and it decomposes, then it quits generating the methane. But as an active landfill, we're constantly adding waste to it each year. So there's just different areas of the landfill that we want to target to get that maximum waste stage gas evacuated.
Based on the current waste stream, the Raleigh County landfill has enough available land for another 120 years of operation, with the ability to generate a usable amount of gas around 90 of those years. It's that potential production that makes the operation economically viable. Power generation from landfill is expected to provide between $100,000 and $150,000 annually to the Solid Waste Authority, so the authority is playing the long game.
So we'll have $3-4 million invested time it's all said and done, which takes quite a while for your return on your investment. Where the Solid Waste Authority looks at this project is that we're doing something proactive, number one, operationally. We know that we can get our leachate back down into our cell where it needs to be. Second of all, we're destroying a greenhouse gas that's good for the environment. And then, of course, third is to see some sort of monetary return on a product that right now we're just destroying.
Greg and Kelly, James Allen says besides the operational and environmental benefits, extracting and burning the gas dramatically reduces the smell coming from the landfill, so there's the good neighbor benefit to the community as well. He says since the flare system was installed 7 years ago, there's only been one nuisance odor complaint, and that was when the system was down for several days for repairs. For Environment Matters, I'm Brianna Hickman.
Thanks, Brianna. Raleigh County will become the second landfill in the state generating electricity from recovered gas. Kanawha County currently has a similar project. Those are not the only West Virginia counties looking into generating energy from trash. In Berkeley County, ground has been broken on a new facility that will use the emerging technology called resource recovery. The 80,000 square foot facility in Martinsburg is called Ensorga, West Virginia, and is a joint project between an Italian and 2 U.S. companies. The facility will use an automated mechanical biological treatment that takes garbage, separates out recyclable material like aluminum cans, and converts the rest of the organic content into a cleaner burning fuel. It's expected to reduce the amount of waste entering the landfill by 75%. That's about 120,000 tons per year, and is expected to dramatically change how solid waste in the Eastern Panhandle is managed. We spoke with Berkeley County Solid Waste Authority Chairman Clint Hogben, who says the county was looking for an out-of-the-box solution.
So, seeing the growth coming, I mean, we knew we could build transfer stations. We knew, we could transfer it to some other landfill, more rural. But there was on the Solid Waste Authority itself, guys, there was this mindset of, can't we do something different? Can't we do something better than just put this in a hole in the ground? Whether that hole in the ground was here or in Pennsylvania or in Tucker County, it didn't matter. Couldn't we just do something better? And so a lot of energy was dedicated to, let's take landfilling off the table and just look at alternatives to landfilling.
The end product is called solid recovered fuel and has about 80% of the energy content of coal. Ensorga will haul the fuel by truck to a neighboring cement kiln where it will be commingled with the coal currently used to provide heat for the process. The facility will receive residential waste from Berkeley, Morgan, Jefferson, and Hampshire counties.
The DEP's REAP program organizes at least one tire collection event in every West Virginia county every year.
But now a new pilot program in 2 northern Panhandle counties is expanding the free collection program year-round. The DEP's Mike Huff has more.
You can drop off a little bit of everything at the Hancock County Recycling Center. Besides the usual paper, plastic, and glass, the center also accepts things like paint, used oil, antifreeze, and electronics, even tires. But there was a catch.
We've been doing our own collection for about, since we opened, so that's about going on 6 years now. But we've had a fee of $1.50, which would cover our disposal. But it's been picking up now that everybody knows that you can get rid of them, 10 of them for free.
That's thanks to a pilot program between Hancock County and the DEP. The DEP's REAP program schedules at least one tire collection event in each West Virginia county during the year. But in some places, like Hancock County, the word wasn't getting out and people were missing the annual collection events.
I got a call from them because they knew that we were collecting tires already, I guess. And they, wanted to know who I was using, and then came up with the idea of, we had a place where we could set them aside and pretty much do them on a consistent basis.
The tires are stored here under an awning inside of a fenced and secure area which protects them from the weather so they don't become giant mosquito breeding grounds. Currently, the Hancock Center takes in between 1,000 and 1,200 tires in an average year.
Back up, they'll count them over there.
But around the state, that's the average take in a day at many REAP tire collection sites, like this one here in Wayne County. Just an hour and a half after opening, contractors have already offloaded around 300 tires.
I think it's great. There's too many of this stuff going into the creeks and streams. We got to get this stuff recycled in Wayne County.
Jack and his friend each brought 10 tires. That's the maximum amount allowed by the REAP program rules. The program is designed to help individuals get rid of their unwanted car, light truck, and ATV tires in an environmentally responsible manner.
Some of them are mine personally, but a lot of them came from the farm that we've had there for a long time that people had just left behind, and we're trying to get them recycled.
Haulers and businesses are not allowed to participate. The goal is to discourage illegal dumping, something unfortunately a problem in all parts of the state.
We do a lot of going out on the open dumps around here, and there's a lot of tires out there. That's one thing you can count on all the time are the tires.
You think this will help?
I imagine it would. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to see where they can come in and actually get rid of them. Now that it's you can bring them in for free, I don't think there's much of an excuse to throw them away.
The Hancock County program is open to county residents only from 9 to 5 during the week and 9 to 3 on Saturday. The recycling center is closed Wednesdays, Sundays, and holidays. A similar pilot program is available in Brooke County. Residents there can drop off up to 10 unmounted tires at a time at the recycling center along Route 2 between Beach Bottom and Windsor Heights every Friday between 8 a.m. and noon. In New Cumberland, I'm Mike Huff for Environment Matters.
For a list of tire collection events in your area, visit our website, dep.wv.gov. The DEP's annual Make It Shine statewide cleanup is set for April.
The program, sponsored by the DEP and the State Division of Highways, provides volunteers with cleanup materials, waste hauling, and landfill fees. Last year, more than 5,000 volunteers fanned out across the state to pick up trash along highways, public lands, and streams. Last year's cleanup removed nearly 190 tons of litter, including more than 2,000 tires and 250 appliances. More than 20 West Virginia watershed groups will share more than $100,000 in grant funding.
The grants come from the Stream Partners program. The program was launched in 1996 and is a partnership of the DEP, the State Divisions of Forestry and Natural Resources, and the West Virginia Conservation Agency. Since its inception, the Stream Partners program has awarded more than $2 million in grant funding. To find out more about watershed groups in West Virginia and some of the fine work they do, including many of this year's grant winners, check out the short film Currents, which is available on the Environment Matters YouTube channel.
Early lessons in sustainability can lead to a lifetime of environmental stewardship.
That's the plan behind a new joint project that teams up the Marshall University Sustainability Department and the West Virginia Science Adventures program. The group is holding a series of weekend science adventures designed for middle schoolers. This group is learning about energy efficiency. The weekend science adventures takes place on Marshall's campus. Organizers say it's a great way to teach science in a new and innovative way.
We're working to develop sustainability-centered lesson plans. And in that, we're hoping to improve some of the science and math retention by connecting what they're learning to real-world sustainability issues and to community, how it connects with home and with their community.
If you'd like to find out more about the West Virginia Science Adventures, you can visit their website, wvscienceadventures.org. It's never too early to start learning good environmental habits like recycling.
And that's the thinking behind the Junior First Lego League. It's designed for students from kindergarten to 3rd grade, and it's the junior version of First Lego League, an international organization founded by Segway inventor Dean Kamen to teach STEM education to school kids and give them an introduction to STEM concepts using Legos. We caught up recently with a class from Chamberlain Elementary School here in Charleston with some students who wanted to show off their project.
Well, this is a paint mixer. You crank this crank and it will make, there's paint in there and it'll mix the paint. If you see up close, we'll zoom in or something. And then we can move on to the conveyor belt. There's like stuff on there.
The theme for this year's contest is the Waste Watch Challenge, which deals with issues like trash, reuse, and recycling. Chamberlain's team got its inspiration from a field trip to the Habitat for Humanity Restore in Charleston. The students were particularly impressed by the paint recycling.
That was really cool. I thought that was pretty cool because she took old paint and made it into new paint and made different colors.
And so they decided to model that. Team projects have to meet several requirements. Here's Chamberlain's coach, Mike Green.
It has to be completely made out of Legos. It has to use at least one motor, and it has to have at least one simple machine. So they have to learn about simple machines and what they are, and they have to learn about motors. So what they decided to do was their simple machine part of the model is the paint mixing station. And it uses a little crank, which uses 2 different gears to change the direction of the motion and turn a stirrer inside the paint vat. And they decided to use their motor on a conveyor belt, like you would have at a sorting recycling station, where they put recyclables on the conveyor belt and people stand and sort them out into different piles. Okay. So they got to learn about the science and the math and the engineering parts of design methodology, which is How do you even start to design a model from scratch? This isn't a Lego kit with instructions. They have to come up with the whole concept, design it, and build it all by themselves.
Coach Green says the project is a great introduction to not only engineering and design, but recycling too, all while having fun with Legos. Organizers say the program has been so popular that they had more students interested in signing up than they had spots on the team. They say they're hoping to be able to field a second team next fall. Some 5th grade students at Shady Spring Elementary School in Raleigh County decided it was time for a little spring sprucing up project.
Every year, students in Susan Vandal's 5th grade class do a big project to leave as a memento of their time at the school. This year, they're working on a bottle cap mural. They hope to have it finished by April. The mural will be placed in an area outside where students eat their lunch when the weather is nice. There are also members of the DEP's Youth Environmental Program. Thanks to Susan Vandal for sharing the pictures with us. Absolutely gorgeous.
What a neat project.
It is. We leave you now along Dunloop Creek in Fayette County.
On behalf of all of us here at the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
More than 800 people with one mission, promoting a healthy environment. We are the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection.